All right, welcome everybody. My name is Chris Alamani. This is the Alberniweather podcast for February 4th, 2024. And today is special. Today is the summary for January. So as usual, I have a blog post that's ready to go up for January. That's going to show you all the stats and sort of everything that went on in the past month. And I want to make this podcast so you can see a little bit more behind the numbers, and we can talk a little bit about it more. So let's get started. We'll start with, I'm just going to see, I apologize, my website is still very up and down lately, but good news is on the horizon. I'm getting a new web server soon. Hopefully we'll be setting that up this week. So I hope to have the website moved over to a much faster place in a few days, maybe even. So that would be great. Okay, so for January, what I wanted to show you first was it was cold, right? Very cold. This is the report from the Port Alberni automated station for January. You can see every day here. The second column here is minimum temperatures. So you can see when it got really cold, minus 13. That seemed very cold. And no doubt it was. And it was very cold in other parts of the country, minus 40. But I want to show you something else. So if we go on to Environment Canada's website here and look for our historical Beaver Creek station, and you can find this this Environment Canada page from any of the forecast pages. If you go to the Port Alberni forecast page or any of those on Environment Canada, you can find the historical weather link there. So there it is, Alberni Beaver Creek. So I'm just going to switch it to monthly here, or no, yeah, I do want daily. Here we go, and I'm going to go to 1950. So check this out. Might show up on December 1st here. We'll switch it over to January. Yeah, here we go. So January 1950. That was a pretty special year, and I'll show you why. Check that out. Minus 25.6 degrees Celsius. That's cold. That is a lot colder than it got here this month. And if you look at this month through, you can see the first and second of the month here, and the third, minus 22, minus 20, minus 16, all lower than the lowest one we got this month. And then again, 2 weeks later, minus 20, minus 25, minus 18, minus 16, minus 15, minus 20, minus 21. And then again, a week later, minus 21, minus 13, minus 15, minus 20, minus 18, minus 19, and it ended at minus 20. That is a whole month of extremely cold weather compared to what we saw this January. So while it seemed very cold this January, I think the point here is it has been much colder in the past, and I don't think that we'll see this kind of a month ever again in Port Alberni. Certainly not in my lifetime. Now, the other interesting part is it did move between extremes, because we were talking about extremes, or it's been talked about a lot this month about the extremes that we had from extreme cold to extreme heat. So what was the extreme that month? 6.7 positive on the positive side was the highest for that month. We see, it popped up above freezing a couple times, 4.4 there on the 7th of January, 1950, 6.7 on the 21st, 4.4 again on the 22nd, 5.7, 5.6 on the 27th. So it did pop up, but this month, right, if we look back, here's January 24, there's 6.379 in the early month on the 4th there. And then we had that cold snap down to minus 13. But those highs look at the highs here. Not very many of them below 0. What do we have here? 1, 2, 3 below 0 for highs. We're missing the 22nd and 23rd, but it wasn't cold on those days. And then we had our record tying all-time high for January 31st was 12.8. That has tied a record set in 1940 at the Port Alberni station in town. So so we did set, or the airport set new marks for January for a number of these cold days, and also set a number of new marks for warm days. But the cold days didn't come anywhere near any of the all-time records, but the warm days certainly did. So so January 29th, 12.8, January 28th, 12.2, January 30th, 11.6, January 31st, 12.8. So all of those were new high records at the airport, and all of them were within 2 or 3 degrees of the all-time records for those days through the history books. So 12.8 tied the record. So I'm just going to see if I can convince my website to come back up, but we'll see if it does that. So yeah, so while we saw those extremes, what was actually the most extreme is our highs that we saw at the end of the month. Those are unprecedented, as far as, well, closer to unprecedented, certainly more so than the lows. So I wanted to put that out there first. That's, I think, one of the biggest takeaways we should have from it. Oh, good, we're back here. So I thought it was important to show you that. So I'm just going to show you, I haven't published the blog yet for the summary, but I wanted to use it here so that we could just look through it, and you could maybe look at it while you're watching this video, and kind of follow along. So while that's loading, I'm just going to show you the graphs that we have here, updated for this month. So these are January graphs. You can see all of my data for all of the stations. We have Beaver Creek, City of Port Alberni, Lupsy-Cupsy, excuse me, Robertson Creek, Port Alberni A, Port Alberni Airport. A is the SOMAS, and then Redford, Alberni. And I believe down at the bottom here, yeah, so I've also created a table. So you can see the table here, and this shows lowest monthly and highest monthly marks. So you can see here's the Beaver Creek station. This is just for each station. So the lowest monthly minimum temperature, we can see that 1950 minus 25.6. So that was the lowest that it ever got in a January. The highest, you can see here, 1940, 14.4. So so that we did not come close to that for our temperatures. Same here, 15.6, 14.4. So lots of higher values there. So if we just go back to the graphs, we'll look at the averages. Well, here's the maximums first, so we can see we didn't quite get to any of the super high maximums for the month, at least, but we were fairly far up there. The purple and the gray are the airport and my station, and then the Robertson Creek one looks like maybe it was in a pocket there and didn't come out of the fog. So it only actually got up to about, I think it was 10 degrees, 10.0 degrees. Let me go see for the month. Let's see what that was. Yeah, there it is, 10 degrees. So that was its high for the month, whereas I got up to 12.5 and the airport got up to 12.8. So so that was our maximums. So not not highest ever, certainly for a maximum on that month. You can see there's other highs throughout. But for the day, for January 31st, that was a new all-time record in the valley. Minimums. So we can see here there's my station a little bit above the valley stations. So my station got down to, I think it was -8, and then the valley stations there got down to -13 or so. So you can see those, but again, you can really see there's that -25.6. So that is actually, as far as these temperatures go, is the by far the lowest temperature on record in January. So and it might be the lowest record, or the lowest temperature for Port Alberni all time. Let's see. If I go to the annual, here we go. And we go to the minimum. There's mean, there's rainfall. Yeah, so so there it is. So that is the minimum, the record minimum is -25.6 overall, all time ever in any month in Port Alberni. So so just looking at these, you can see annual extreme. This is the all times extremes throughout the ages. So so we can see, you know, it gets down below -20 there, below -20 again, and below around -18 here. So if you're looking for a comparison, this month's was just in this sort of just under the average here, right? So that -10 to -14 area. So that's where we were this month. There's all of this other stuff below. So it's not the coldest that we've seen. So I'll go back to January here. And so that's the picture for January, and you can see how it's really changed. It's moved up over the past few decades into much closer to zero for those minimum temperatures in January. Okay, rainfall. You can see, I'm just going to zoom this in so I know you guys can really see it well on the video. There's our January rainfall. Again, this map is always, or this graph is always a little difficult, but there's the average. 246 is the average for January, according to my sort of compilation. You can see the three of our stations. So that's the airport in purple, Robertson Creek, and my station, pretty tightly mixed up there. The airport was around 350, and I was just under 300. So so there you go. A little bit above average, not anywhere near the top, and thankfully not zero. So that's good. It did. I mean, the interesting part, if we go back to those records, I'm going to show you something else here. So we don't measure total snow, unfortunately, at the airport anymore. So we don't have that direct comparison, but it does have snow on the ground. So you can see here 5 centimeters fell on January 9th, and then we had a larger dump in the end of the month there, just after the cold snap, 28 centimeters, so almost a foot of snow. And then if we look at 1950, get this. So here's 1950 in those cold temperatures. January 5th, 15 centimeters. January 9th, 11 centimeters. January 25th, 20 centimeters. So overall, it got 80 centimeters of snow that month in 1950, 80 centimeters. So that's, 2.5 feet, 2 3/4 feet. So plenty of snow. And we're looking at what, 5, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 26. So say 40 centimeters, so about half the snow that we got, back in 1950 in January, on that very cold January. So that's kind of the comparison there. So think of that also as snowpack. So we're looking at a big difference between those, mid-century, mid-20th century numbers in terms of snowpack compared to this year, where this all occurred just in the 2 weeks in the middle of January, kind of saved the snow season as far as the ski hills were concerned. And then it got washed away at the end of the month. And much of it, as you'll see here in a second, the snowpack is actually down from that mid-month high. So big difference there. And it's all because, we're just a lot warmer, and it's falling as warm rain instead of cold rain or snow on the mountains. So, okay, let's go back to the graphs here. There's January rainfall, mean temperatures. So the average temperatures, you can see we were just above average. My station in the city is a little higher than the airport in Robertson Creek, just around 1.5 degrees there. Average minimum temperatures around the same, actually look almost identical. Yeah, so just above average, really on average. And then the last one, average maximum temperatures, we were just above average as well. So not really anything groundbreaking in there in terms of averages for the month. So yeah, so that's the look as far as the graphs go. Now we'll go back to the post here, and so you can see what I've written on the post. One thing I want to talk about is the snowpack. So let's go and get the BC River Forecast Center. There we go. And if we look at the snow conditions, the bulletin there, there we go. So it says here, the majority of the automated snow weather stations across the province are below the median snow for February 1st. The notable exceptions are the 2 Forest Kerr stations in the Stikine Basin. So we're still pretty low. Their next actual update, as far as the main updates that they put out every month, isn't going to come out until Thursday, I believe. So we'll be looking for that. Yeah, it says snow and water supply bulletin is scheduled to be released on Thursday, February 8th. So I'll have a post about that. But I also want to show you, as I did in the blog, make this nice and big so you can see it. This is the raw data from, okay, silly thing, sorry about that. This is the raw data from the, there we go, website. And if we just look, there's Upper Columbia, Okanagan, Vancouver Island. Okay, so Wolf River is in up by Strathcona. So that's sort of the North Island considered. And these last two columns here, so the CC, the 60% and 54%, 60%, that is the percentage they see as far as snowpack. This was for January 22nd, and the last column is February 1st. So you can see it actually got up to 61, but 60% after that snowfall that we had in January. Jump Creek, which is down sort of by Nanaimo Lakes, popped up to 27%. Not great. After that snowfall, it went all the way down to 0 after the rain. Atmospheric River. Wolf River went down to 54%. And then Heather Mountain and Mount Arrowsmith, those are also east of Mount Arrowsmith. The last one there, this 45% and 34%, that's the station that you can see on the webcam page at the bottom. There's a image there, and you'll be able to see the actual snow there. So you can see both of those stations went from around 40, 45 down to 28 and 34. So I don't expect that the snow bulletin that'll come out this week is going to be very optimistic as far as our snowpack. We're going to really need another cold snap to occur with some snow in the mountains to build up that snowpack, because right now it's not in a good state, at least on the island. Okay, so that's the situation with the snowpack. Oh yeah, just a little thought about the El Nino and atmospheric rivers. If you remember 2010, I have here, let's see if it'll come up when see if it'll come up here. Let me just grab that link. I have here a nice little article from The Guardian back in 2010. It says, Canada's mild climate leaves Winter Olympics short of snow. So this was another El Nino year, and it very famously, there was no snow for the Olympics, and there was lots of worry. And I liked this headline. It's very topical. It says January temperatures in host city, Vancouver, were warmest on record. So again, this January, again, the warmest on record in many parts of the Lower Mainland, South Coast, Vancouver Island, and so on. So this is not unprecedented as far as heat in January and February. It is an El Nino. We expect that, but certainly the floor again is rising, and those high temperatures are getting higher and higher. So we're setting, every time there's an El Nino, I would expect that we will set new high all-time records. You can see this is 13 years ago. So there you go. Every 13 years or so, maybe we'll be setting all-time records for January, and wondering about the snow. Okay. Next up, oh yes, the time lapse. So this is the old time lapse, but I have here our new time lapse for January 2024. I really like this little spot here where it had the sunrise. Let me just back it up a little. There we go. I love this. We can see the stars going over. That's Orion. There it comes through, and then we'll see the sunrise. Look at that. Love it. So that's great. There's some great images of the snow. Just want to see if I get it when it actually goes by now. Yeah, we have some great images when it snowed there. Let's just go back to, it'll be around there. There we go. So some nice snow melt. Look at that melt. Love that. That's cool. So yeah, check that out. I'm just uploading this actually right now to YouTube. It should be up there and ready very soon. And it'll be in the blog along with this podcast. So look at that snow. Love it. Beautiful. So yeah, that was the snow. Imagine 40 centimeters, imagine 80 centimeters falling in the month of January. We had quite a bit of snow, but not that much. There you go. Look at that. It's melting. Love this stuff. Okay, so I don't think I have anything else that I'd wanted to pass on. There's our, oh yeah, we had a record rainfall amount set at the airport, 76 millimeters on the 29th there, right at the height of the atmospheric river. It did not set an all-time record. So the all-time was 112 at Robertson Creek, 1992. There you can see the records from 1940. Oh, and I was wrong, sorry. It was 1935 is the all-time record that we tied on January 31st there, 12.8. You can see we hit 12.8 on the 29th as well, but the highest there was 13.3, 1940. January 28th was 12.2. The highest was 15.6 in 1940. So 1940 is sort of the analog for the warmest Januaries, along with 1992. And on the cold side, the analog is 1907, going way back. So we have some all times there. Minus 19, minus 18 for January 15th and 16th. We didn't come anywhere near those. There's that minus 25, that was 1950. Had minus 20, that's also 1950. And then we had a cold year at Robertson Creek, 1993. And there was also a cold year, 1981 or 82 was a cold year, and we have some records in there that we came close to, but did not break. So so there's lots of stuff to go through this month. There's all of the stations that I track on the summaries. Alberniweather, you can see the maximum was 12.5, minimum was minus 9.7. Our averages were pretty consistent through all of the stations here. Dave's is uptown by the City Hall. Nick's is over by McQuina, and the Catsuxis one is just down on the start at Catsuxis Hill there. Rain quite variable. Not sure if this is station related, the difference, or if it's just purely location and wind and stuff like that. But look at the difference here. My station, 290 millimeters. Dave's station, 400 millimeters. Nick's station, 220, and the Catsuxis station, 368. So that's a pretty wide range of numbers there. And then we had a super high wind there, 67, or that wasn't super high, but 67.6 kilometers per hour on the 8th. Yeah, I wanted to show you the averages here and the differences from the averages. So for the airport, the minimum, we're still above average for minimum temperatures this month. So our normal minimum temperature for Robertson Creek between 1971 and 2000 is minus 1.3, and this year it was minus 0.7. So we were still warmer than average for that minimum temperature. You can see the mean temperature there. The average for the month, we were just 0.4 above, and then the max we were 0.6, so pretty much the same as the minimum. You can see the rainfall, 112% of normal, so 37 millimeters more than normal. Not huge or anything, but nice at least that it's a little bit higher. But again, didn't fall as snow for a lot of it, so that became a problem. Yeah, so I think that's all I wanted to show you today. Thank you very much for watching, and check out the blog post. There's lots of links in there. You can check out all of the data, and you can see the sources. All of these are linked to the original Environment Canada pages. You can see the Valley stations is what I use to compare for the all-time records, along with the airport since 1994. So thank you again. Thank you for watching. Please like the video if you like it, and please subscribe to the channel, and it'll always notify you when there's more. And it sounds like my laundry's done, so I'll be done here too. Okay, thanks. See you later.